This is another archival upload of my previous mix critique videos. Again, I apologize for the vertical format that this video is about to switch to. This is 131 through 135. This was sent in by Nico. Right away, the kick drum is really boxy. Like, your drum tones overall need a lot of work. They're also mixed way too loud over everything else. You need to work on getting levels better. Heavy Linkin Park ripoff vibes. Everything sounds really muddy. Like, it sounds like you've destroyed the high end of your mix. Dude, like, this is like a direct ripoff of Numb. Right, the guitar tones aren't that bad. The drum tones are the things that need the most work, other than obviously your overall fader balance. And the singer, I don't know, man, the vocals aren't good. Like, at the very least, the vocals need some tuning on them, but I'm sorry, man, I'm not finishing this. There's nothing wrong with taking inspiration from other musicians. Like, that's how music evolves, is you take a little bit from here, a little bit from here, and you get something new. But this is a direct ripoff of Numb. Like, it's so close. The melody is even like really similar. It's just, you gotta work on your songwriting first here, I think, is the biggest thing, so that you're not directly ripping off other bands. Start with getting better drum tones and working on your fader balance, and definitely some mix bus compression is gonna help a lot here. This was sent in by Hunter.
His childhood and mom and or dad.
Really nice, clean guitar tone in the intro here. All right, you got some really nice guitar and bass tones. Your drum tones are kind of garbage. The cymbals are too high, they're a little harsh, they're really washy. Sounds like you over compress the drums a lot. Like, you need a slower attack time on the compression on all those drums, and probably not to compress them quite as much. You're clamping down on them so hard that it's taking all of the life out of them. They're also mixed way too low compared to the guitars and bass. Honestly, the bass could even probably come up a little bit.
Anger in your face and the teardrops in my eyes.
Okay, you asked about the vocal mix. The vocal tone is actually fantastic. Like, the effects you have on there, the singer's voice is actually really, really good. The problems I'm hearing are mostly the delivery and the editing.
From all your demons, I know you get tired of the
Yeah, dude, the vocals are dragging. They're like way behind the beat. There's also just like a lot of dead space in here. Like, you asked about the vocal mix, but there's only vocals in like 25% of the whole track. Yeah, so great guitar and bass tones. You got to work on fader balance a little bit. Bass needs to come up, drums need to be louder. Over compressing the drums. The vocals tonally sound great, maybe a little too heavy on the reverb and delay. And you got to work on the delivery and the editing, because the vocals are very behind the beat in a lot of spots. This was sent in by Ryan. I don't know if it's about to change. It might just be an effect for the intro, but the drums sound like they were recorded in a really shitty, small, untreated room. All right, guitar tone's not great, and it's way too loud compared to everything else. All right, man, honestly, for what it sounds like you had to work with, it's not bad. I think the biggest thing is you got to work on balancing your faders a little bit more. This is a very common theme recently. Like, just some of your overall volume levels of different things are a little out of place. But like, tonally, in terms of EQ and compression, it sounds like you did a good job with what you had. The biggest problem here, I think, is the source tones. Like I said, the drums sound like they were recorded in a really shitty, untreated room. Like, bedroom drum recording never sounds good. And the guitar tone's okay, but it's not great. It's a little harsh. It's clipping a little bit, probably on the way into the interface. What you did with what you have is honestly not bad, but it could be better if you got better source tones. This was sent in by Ryan. Different Ryan than the last one. Guitar in the intro is very out of tune, and it's very, very muddy. There's like no top end to this guitar at all.
I am still here waiting for
Drums, the snare sounds boxy, which is really interesting. That's usually a kick drum problem. Guitar doesn't sound great. Again, those are like source recording issues. The vocals actually sound pretty good in terms of how they were recorded and performed. The biggest thing I'm noticing with the vocals is you have a doubled vocal going on clearly, and they don't match up tuning wise. Like you can hear the main vocal and then you can hear an audibly out of tune doubled vocal in the background.
Try to see beauty, but with
Bass sounds all right. Biggest thing, really, that guitar tone is not good. Like, you took Scoop the mids to a new level here. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of problems in this mix, but none of them are going to be fixable until you get better source tones. Everything is entirely dependent on how it sounds before it hits the computer. If your guitars aren't in tune, if your drums weren't tuned well, if you recorded the drums in a shitty room, everything is riding on the source material. No amount of mixing tricks is going to make really bad source tracks sound good. I'm sorry. It's not. So practice recording more. That's my best advice to you. The song was sent in by Braden. It's not bad so far, a little quiet. One thing I will say is that on all the downbeats in this intro, I really want to hear the bass note. The low end attack of the notes at the start of the phrase are not hitting the way they need to. Honestly, your low end in general is kind of lacking. That's probably the biggest problem. So you need more low end in the kick drum too. Even the snare sounds a little thin. The snare is also kind of poking out a little too far over everything else. You need to find a way to just make that snare sit a little bit better among everything. You have a decent amount of sub with these hits here, so like that's great for anybody with a subwoofer, but for most people, most of the low end energy is gonna come from the low mids, so you gotta find a way to get the low mids bumped up a little bit. All right, so overall not bad. Your EQ's not bad, your compression's not bad. You need to add a little bit more in the low mids so you can feel the energy on more playback systems. But honestly, the big thing is the mix just kind of felt sterile, like there's no movement. I mean, part of that is that there's no vocals or any kind of a top line on the top of it. Like that obviously would contribute to the movement of the track, but in general, like everything just felt really stagnant. Like nothing was changing, nothing was going up or down. Like there was no changes really to keep the excitement.